Okay, we're going to look at adding integers. There are 3 addition rules that we can summarize. Positive plus positive, you're going to add, and the answer is positive. If you have a negative and a negative, you're going to add, and the answer is negative. If you have a positive plus a negative or a negative plus a positive, you're going to end up subtracting, and the number farthest from 0 gives a sign to the answer. So let's take a look at a couple of examples, both with number lines and with counters. So let's say we have a positive plus a positive equals a positive. What that really means is a positive 5 plus a positive 3 is a positive 8. However, we dropped the positive signs, and so this is what you would normally see. On a number line, using vectors, we have a vector line segment of 5 going to the right. We add another vector of line segment 3, or length 3, and we get a total vector length of 8. If you're using counters on a placemat, you have 5 positive counters. You add 3 positive counters to that, and your total group is now 8 positive counters. If we're talking adding 2 negative numbers, you're going to get a negative answer. So negative 4 plus negative 5 is a negative 9. When you write this, because we don't want to have 2 signs next to each other, you always put the sign or the number in the middle in parentheses. So conventionally, and what I'm going to be looking for is negative 4 plus, in parentheses, negative 5 equals a negative 9. That way your positive and your negative don't run together. On a number line, you have a vector segment of length negative 4 going to the left. You add another vector segment of length negative 5, and your total vector length is now negative 9. If we're using counters, the same thing applies. Make sure you put your middle number in parentheses. If we take negative 4 counters, we add negative 5 counters, we get a total of negative 9 counters. All right, so what if we have a positive and a negative? Well, in this case, our positive is bigger than our negative number in value, and so we end up with a positive answer. This would be an example of 6 plus negative 4 equals a positive 2. Again, because we don't want our signs next to each other, we put the negative 4 in parentheses. And on a number line, it's going to look like this. We have a positive vector of 6 going to the right, but when we add our negative vector, it is going the opposite direction to the left. And so we end up at a positive 2. We don't have enough to go past 0 into the negative side, so we are still on the positive side, just less than 6. When you do this on counters, we use what is called 0 sets. So if I start off with 6 positive counters and I add 4 negatives, what happens with the positive and the negative is 1 plus negative 1 is 0. So this set is 0, along with this set, this next set, and this last set. Because all of these equal 0, we can actually get rid of them. And what is left over is 2 positive counters. The same thing happens when you have a negative plus a positive, where your negative number is bigger than your positive, in which case your answer retains a negative sign. For example, we have negative 7 plus 4 is a negative 3. Being that 4 doesn't have a sign, we don't have to use the parentheses to separate. So using a number line, our vector length of negative 7 going to the left, and now we add our vector length of 4 going to the right. Again, it is not enough to put us into the positive side of the number line, so our answer is a negative 3. If we're using counters, the same rule applies with 0 sets. So if we have 7 negative counters, and we add 4 positive counters, again we have 4 sets of 0, which can disappear and leave us with 3 negative integers. All right, for this next exercise, I want you to just identify the sign. If you look at the expression, you should be able to quickly tell if the answer is going to be positive or negative. You don't actually have to come up with the value. For example, this is 8 plus negative 7. Since 8 is greater than value than negative 7, and it is positive, I know my answer is going to be positive. Try this with the next 7 problems. If you need to, pause the video because the answer follows each problem. Did you notice what happened on the last one? 2 plus a negative 2 equals 0. That is an important fact to remember because it's going to come up later on. All right, for these next problems, go ahead and actually evaluate the whole problem. The answer follows each question. So for example, with negative 5 plus 2, I know that the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. So 5 minus 2 is 3. And because negative 5 is farther away from 0 than 2, I know it's going to be a negative 3. Again, do the same thing. Pause after each one if you need to, so you can answer the question before you see the answer. Okay, here's your assignment. Create 10 problems that show adding integers. 8 of your problems must have negative integers in them, either in the expression or the answer. For example, 3 plus negative 7 is a negative 4. And if you're up for the challenge, use 2 or more digits in your problems, or the answers have 2 or more digits. For example, negative 155 plus 10 is equal to a negative 145.